This is a collective invitation, or I should say an invitation for our collective to access these galactic records, because it's going to benefit us personally. But what I'm hearing from our guides, from those who are assisting with the ascension of Gaia, those councils, collectives, is that we are being invited to collectively anchor those Akashic records back into the planet. Welcome to Activations with JJ November 2024 monthly energy update. In today's episode, we'll discuss the prominent themes for November, including reconnection, time alchemy, and accessing the Galactic Akashic records. These are some fun topics coming up for us this month, and I cannot wait to get right into it. So let's get going. Hello, hello. Akitara kusiniktorikmi arakti yaksokutekirash. Welcome to this galactic episode. You can already feel pretty galactic vibrations coming through there. I'm excited to jump into November with you as we head into, obviously, the 11/11 portal, a big day for many of us as we're feeling those frequencies of those numbers expanding and bringing in codes. And there's always just some really powerful energy around the 11/11 portal. In addition to that, there are so many different waves of frequencies coming through the collective, especially here in the United States, for obvious reasons. But I'm here with you. And there's some interesting topics coming up for this month. In fact, I'd love to share a little bit of personal information, almost like a little recap of my sort of October, I think would be helpful, just to give you an idea of how I headed into the themes and how I came up with the themes for November. And of course, before I begin, I want to remind you that these are the themes that I've channeled specifically from our collective higher selves. You may find that some resonate and some do not. You may also wish to tune in on your own, open your channel and your intuition to personal themes for you. And in fact, I highly recommend that you take some time to do that. Whether you're inspired by this episode or other energy updates you hear, that is a very important thing for us as we really hone in on our own skills with channeling and bringing forward our intuition. It's an empowering thing, right? To know that we can create our own energy update for the month. I would like to touch on some different things that came forward during October, some highlights, you might say. I did speak about one of these in a podcast episode about a week and a half ago, so make sure you go back and listen to that one. It was about the Lemurian template, and I spoke about an experience I had close to the 1010 portal. I was actually in New Zealand at that time, but I felt this really interesting concept come through of a time lock. Those were the exact words that came in. And this time lock, I was told, was installed on the 1010 portal to alleviate some of the fluctuations of energy that had been occurring ever since this galactic convergence, which peaked at the 8/8 portal, but I don't even think it's really diminished too much, to be completely honest. I'm like, it was a peak, but no, I don't think that we've actually gone down since then. So I'm not sure we can call it the peak. We're still a little bit in the peak. Actually, since the 1010 portal, I do feel like it did diminish. So I will say that. I absolutely feel that the 11/11 will also include a quote unquote time lock being installed. And the best way for me to explain that to you or help you understand what that means is we're in a period of timeline collapsing and convergence. And when you are in a period that is like that, there's a lot of jello-y energy. Jello-y, I don't think jello-y is a word. It's wobbly. There's stuff that's very fluid because things are weaving together, and you cannot weave together energy that is stiff. You cannot weave it together. It has to be flexible. I was just in Australia, in fact, and we were guided by a traditional land custodian who told us about the weaving of the specific plants. We were on a whole tour, and we were shown the plants, and she's like, you need to soak them in order to be able to weave them. And so see, there was some very, very wobbly, floppy, flexible energy when this time lock was installed, it allowed to a certain degree some of that wobbliness to be stabilized. And we are entering another phase of collapsing or converging of timelines where there will still be some wobbly energy, but I don't believe it's to the same extent and degree that we experienced it previously, which is nice. I've personally felt a bit of relief. And I've mentioned this a few times in some Instagram lives and probably to my community and maybe here on the podcast, but I typically do not sense or get a feeling of anxiety or anxiousness. I'll even just say anxiousness. It's just not something I really have had in my life. I've had all kinds of other emotions, but that's just not something that's come forward. But I felt that coming in so strongly during this last couple of months. And I kept tuning into my guides and be like, what is going on? Like, this is not normal for me. And they're just like, well, it's part of this timeline convergence, all this collapsing of timelines. You are merging with parts of yourself. And so all of this stuff is coming to the surface. And I know I was not the only one who was experiencing it. I spoke to so many people who were going through the same thing and still going through it. But for me personally, that was alleviated pretty much, I would say, about 4 or 5 days after the 1010 portal. So yes, we are going to take a deep breath together. There are so many loving beings that are watching this and observing this, and they're even here to assist us in any way possible. The Star Mothers are coming forward. The Galactic Children are here to help us have fun. So please know, in those moments of just humanness, right? Like we're in the thick of the human experience. Here we're incarnated, we're carrying forth this work while being incarnated, while having this emotional body. And it can be a challenge some days, but they're there. You are not alone. They definitely want you to know you are not alone. And there are tools and resources that they're really going to put at the forefront for us and just right in front of us, so that we can understand how to better cope with all of this that's going on, all of this energy shifting. Now, back to what I was saying about these time locks. I think it's safe to say that the 1111 portal will be another marker point, and probably the 1212. After that, I feel a big reset, but it just feels like it's going to last until about, I would say, solstice is what I'm feeling. I've been talking to friends of mine as well and what they're feeling with this, but completion, there'll be a completion for sure. I'm sure that we will all sense that, and maybe not all exactly at the same time. Now, speaking of time, that is a big piece of this puzzle, and that is actually a theme for November. To a certain flavor of that is a theme. And since I'm already naturally headed that way, I'm going to step into the November energies. Before I do, I want to let you know that I'm very excited because one of the tools that I just mentioned a second ago that we're being encouraged to develop in order to facilitate the comfort levels of our physical body and our emotional body during this time of great shifting is light language. Light language. And this month, I am back by popular demand is my light language group mentorship and my light language quantum leap. Friends, I have never done this before. Never. I have never ran a course just like I ran it in September and I'm running it again in November. Normally this course is in the fall and in the spring, but there was a sense of urgency with really leaning into light language. And so I've opened those up again. I've done it in November before things get too crazy with the holidays because I know a lot of us are really prioritizing family during the holidays. So I did do this before we get in the thick of the holidays. Light language group mentorship and light language quantum leap. One is a little bit more beginning levels, like if you've never really spoken or done a ton of light language. The other one is if you have dabbled in it to, you could even be intermediate or advanced. So check out the links below if you want to join me for that. It's going to be a party. They're so fun because the inner children are the guides of both of those. I have specifically called in our creative inner children. So I want to just mention that before we hop into the topics. So as many of you have noticed over the last several months, there's usually an overarching theme as well as sub-themes that support that overarching theme for the month. And this month is no exception. Our overarching theme is reconnection. And I spoke about this a week and a half ago. I give you a hint in a podcast episode. Reconnection is a general and broad topic that I feel is very helpful for us to be able to understand how everything is playing out within and without, above and below, personally and collectively. And if you look long enough and hard enough at these different energies and events that are happening, you will come to understand it's all about reconnecting at every level, at every single level, from reconnecting to ourselves, which coming home was a theme for September, reconnecting to ourselves within, and reconnecting to our galactic origins, which is essentially that cosmic remembrance piece, very big on my radar right now. A tool for all of that is obviously light language. One of the tools of many, but one of the tools for that is light language. So reconnection. So if I were to sort of go a little bit more into detail on that, I'd love to just collectively, all of us here listening, to tune in and allow some wisdom to come forward from our higher selves. And I'll go back to a video that I saw on Instagram not long ago where there was a gentleman speaking about the connectedness of all things. This is unity consciousness. So this reconnection, as you can already tell, is one of the main components of really accepting, receiving, leaning into, and calibrating ourselves for unity consciousness. And what this speaker was saying is, you are connected to the person next to you. You are connected to the chair that you are sitting on. Separation is just an illusion. So it's reconnecting, but essentially it's releasing the illusion of separation. And I'm feeling so much paradox in saying that, because last month it was non-attachment, which is like disconnecting, right? But it's like disconnecting to reconnect, or to, there's something there that wants to come forward. So just sit with that for a moment, because it is that paradox. That paradox is key. That is a signpost for you that you are shifting in consciousness and that you are evolving, just like Bashar said. It is a signpost, and that comes from a podcast I did a few weeks ago. Reconnection is releasing the illusion of separation, or releasing the illusion that we aren't connected. So even in the word reconnection, that's kind of for our 3 or 4D self. That's for some linear thinking right there. Because if you look at it from the other perspective, there's no need to reconnect, because there was never a disconnection. But there are parts of us that were very sold on the fact that we're disconnected. And so we're slowly but surely convincing them that we are reconnecting, and that essentially a state of connection is our natural and organic state. We are naturally and organically connected to our higher self. There is no separation. And so that is a big piece of the energies of November. And right now I am in the midst, we just started a new cohort for a sacred initiation journey, which is about connecting in that inner place. We have several different on-demand parts to that offering, and I would love to have you take a look at those if you're feeling drawn to connect within. Because what we're doing is we're working with connecting with that child of creation, literally where our origins, connecting with our 1-year-old self, even our 2-year-old self. A lot of our inner children come in during that. Now with my multidimensional soul integration, which I'm just about to wrap up, we're connecting outside with those parts of us that are, our soul family, that is essentially parallel lives. But all of it is one and the same. It's all a reflection. One thing is a reflection of the other. Reconnection, in fact, I think is important for us to understand as we move through this time of convergence, where there was such a big shift for so many of us, where we actually got so disoriented in and among like our sort of our social circles, that we may need to come to a place where we're reorienting ourselves around what and who those are. But we are not shifting back into isolation. So whether it's just simply shifting to a different community, we are still being encouraged to co-create, to calibrate together. It's actually easier together. That's why I continue to do these live courses like Light Language Quantum Leap. In September, it just blew my mind what we were able to accomplish because we were all doing it together, this whole group of people. And there was comment after comment after comment about how powerful it was. And I credit the entire group for that because we had a collective intention. We did it together. We didn't do it isolated. So that's another piece of this. And of course, it's been amazing to see as we've launched the Starseed community, which was the merging of the Gridwork community and Star Mothers, how it's all weaving together into one big happy family. And we are absolutely seeing a sort of, I want to say an upgrade, but like a marked shift in the frequency there, because we are being supported from every direction in our efforts to co-create collectively. All right, so reconnection in all the ways is one of the invitations for November, the overarching theme. There are two other really fun themes. These are kind of like my inner child themes, I would say. I feel like September and October, I'll be completely honest, were very serious. Very serious. As much as I wanted, I mean, I brought in the Galactic children quite a bit, and they helped lighten the load. But emotionally and mentally, so many of us were going through some, you could say heavy, some heavy, wobbly energies. And so this month I was like, okay, I want to play. I want to have fun. I want to dive deep. Like, what does my inner child want? What does our collective inner children want to play with? And the two themes that came forward felt so fun to me. And I'll start with the first one. So the first one is the Galactic Akashic Records. The Galactic Akashic Records. When I went to New Zealand and I went to Castle Hill, which is a place with very large stones, rocks, like the biggest. I felt like they were put there on purpose. So for me, it would like be the biggest megalithic type structure that I've ever been to, and it people think it's natural, like it was naturally there, and I'm like, no, it was definitely not naturally there. I felt a lot of energy that I talked about in a podcast a couple of weeks ago. In that space, there are galactic there's access points to galactic records from many different star systems, all of the star systems that the main starseeds on our planet are connected to. And I could kind of list some of those off for you. I mean, some people that I've come across are from really far away. Like they came from far distant places, but they're not the norm. The norm is that most of us took like a pathway calibrating our energies to get to Earth, this Earth incarnation through different stargates. So like some of the main ones, and you can talk about like who seeded Lemuria. This is like the Star Mothers. All of the Star Mother stuff that we've done is super connected to these galactic families, these root families of our planet. Like we've got Pleiadian, which is a big one for most people, Lyran, Andromedan, Arcturian. I know there's people that are Polarian that I've run into. We also have some Orion, quite a few of those, and Anunnaki is another one. Draco. We have, in addition to that, some of the less common ones that you might be saying, but JJ, why didn't you say mine? So add those in the comment section of the YouTube video, okay? That's what I want you to do. But that being said, Syrian. I can't believe I forgot Syrian. That's one of mine. I bet everybody was like, what about Syrian? What about Syrian? Yeah, Syrian is another big one. But essentially, this Galactic Akashic Records piece means, and this will probably ring a bell for some of you because I really talked about this with the Pleiadian Akash, and then I talked about how the Orion Akashic Records came forward at Castle Hill in New Zealand. But it's a really big theme right now. And I'm just going to bring through again a little bit more detail from our collective guides and higher selves. This is a collective invitation, or I should say an invitation for our collective to access these galactic records, because it's going to benefit us personally. But what I'm hearing from our guides, from those who are assisting with the ascension of Gaia, those councils, collectives, is that we are being invited to collectively anchor those Akashic records back into the planet to reconnect Gaia to her origins, is what I'm hearing. It is a service to Gaia. It is a grid work. But it will also be enlightening for you personally as you access those records. Now, some of you will have experiences, maybe in meditation, in group settings, probably if you're in our starseed community and you come to our monthly gatherings. In fact, we do have the free monthly gathering for anybody. I'd love to have anybody come to that, the fourth Sunday of the month. And that one we will be focusing on this topic. But I feel like some of you will be doing this literally on behalf of an entire, star family. It's like you have an assignment, you have a contract. So this is a contractual task that we're being invited to do. Yeah, they're like, it's not just for kicks and giggles, but it could be. It could be for that. If you want it to be. It could be for fun for you to connect to these Galactic Akashic records, but there is actually a function to it that is serving this ascension process in a way that may be a little bit more difficult for us to understand or comprehend consciously. But it does involve, here's that light language piece. I'm now hearing this. In order for us to calibrate to access a lot of these Galactic Akashic records, we have to have that light language piece incorporated. We have to be able to self-calibrate, and then some of that stuff is going to come through in light language. We are going to anchor it through speaking it, writing it, or using our hands or body. Interesting. That's why light language is a tool for all this. Light language is a tool to be able to accomplish all this. Okay, so the final topic is really fun too. And that is time. Time alchemy are the words that came in. Just like that. Time alchemy. And if you listened to my Arcturian Gateway activation last month, you heard the Arcturians who brought in the Mayans discuss this idea of like time is putty in your hands. Time is putty in your hands. And if you didn't listen to that, the link is below. You can just click on that below. But time. And we're already calibrating to this concept because there's so much subconscious and conscious programming around time, linear time. And I want to revisit something the Arcturians said in that activation. They talked about time being, well, it was actually the Mayans. The Arcturians said, here are the Mayans. And then they were sort of channeling the Mayans. This is like one of the first times I've ever channeled a being who was channeling a being. Interesting. But they were talking about the toroidal fields and this concept of time. I'm also hearing wormholes, which is basically how you time travel. Yes. We're planting seeds. We're planting seeds right now. That's what I'm hearing. In fact, the channeled message for this month that's going to accompany my monthly energy update, and usually it comes out the day after, and so you'll see that pop up on my YouTube. The theme is time alchemy. And you know what? Do you know who came through for that? Merlin came in. And it was an aspect of Merlin that I've had a few different people connect to, and I've personally connected to. It's like Father Time, but it's Merlin, but it's Father Time. It's definitely an archetypal energy, as well as the Mayan timekeepers. Again, that's our name for them. They're not from Earth, but that's the name that we know them as. So make sure you check that out once it comes up. But right now, I just feel drawn to hold space for a little bit of just breath work, just a little breathing through whatever this energy is that's coming in, because I can feel it coming in the silence. I can see, I'm just going to describe what I'm seeing, okay? You know that Dali picture of all the clocks like melting? I think he was channeling the future, where time becomes the putty in our hands, and it is no longer fixed. It is no longer rigid. It is flexible. We are able to bend it and to shape it. And as I'm saying this, I can feel there are definitely parts of you that are like, yes, I'm so on board with that. Yes, yes, yes. But I also feel a collective combined energy of a little bit of resistance, because there are certain ways that we are 100% attached to time. So maybe that's why in October, one of the themes was non-attachment, because in order for us to experience the fluidity and flexibility of time, we have to be releasing those attachments. And October had middle October had that really super powerful full moon energy that I felt a ton of people were releasing. I'm so glad though, because it was needed. It was needed. And those cycles are very, very helpful. But this time as a putty, now I'm starting to put pieces together too, because last month in October, remember the theme was preparing for the galactic templates. We're still doing that this month. This month's theme is not, okay, time to receive the galactic templates. And this month is Reconnection. This month is Galactic Akashic records and time alchemy. And in order to, I think, anchor those galactic templates in, which I believe, I'm feeling beginning of the year. Just tuning in right off the bat, I'm feeling beginning of the year. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But we are preparing, we're planting the seeds. I even said that a second ago. That's what I said in October, is we're planting the seeds right now. So just let yourself sort of absorb what parts of that resonate with you, and just sit with those concepts for a moment. Ooh, so much of the time alchemy piece is connected to quantum alchemy. Yes, it is. I'm asking if it's DNA, and I'm hearing no. It's more. It's deeper than the DNA. Although I am seeing on DNA, those telomeres, the length of the telomeres. There's something about how they're connected to time, because I remember reading one time that the length determines your lifespan, your longevity. There's something about that. There's something about time locks connected to our cellular functions that are, this is the Mayans coming through, and maybe, they're ready to be released. The locks are ready to be opened. So on one hand, when I was mentioning the time locks, those are beneficial, but on the other hand, there are other time locks that need to be released. I'm very interested to know what you think of this, so please share in the YouTube comment section if you're on YouTube, because it'll be fascinating to see how all this plays out. We're definitely laying the foundation and preparing the soil for these galactic templates, but we're not rushing. Well, there's no such thing as time anyway. I even was showing that we were, here I am talking about non-attachment to time, and I'm talking about rushing, but did you feel how that took us like somewhere else? I feel like I'm needing to come back now for a second so I can even finish the podcast episode, because I felt like I was so outside of time for a moment that I'm like, oh yeah, I have to end this. I can't just keep this going forever and ever and ever. So yeah, let's land. Let's land, my friends. Let's land. Whoosh. So I have some fun things happening this month. Again, I've got the Light Language Quantum Leap, the Light Language Group Mentorship. I do have an offering for the 1111 portal. I am actually co-creating with a friend of mine from the Czech Republic, and I'm offering an 1111 portal activation. And her name is Aramea, and the name of her community is Astaria Ascension. And Aramea is also a recording artist. She's incredible. I met her in New York this summer, but she invited me to create an activation and to host an activation and present this for her community. And we've opened it up to anybody. There will be a translator there who will be translating it into Czech, which is pretty incredible. And do you know what the theme came through for that was? Violet flame. Violet flame. I was tuning in, and to give it a little bit more description, and immediately I heard violet flame. So there's something about the 1111 portal and violet flame energy that's coming through. In addition to that, I have a few other offerings, one-on-one offerings, and some group offerings that you can check out in the links below. You know where to find me. Please make sure you subscribe to my email list so that you can know all the ins and outs, all the details when things are coming forward. And don't miss out on those. But my friends, thank you so much for co-creating this episode today. I am truly grateful for each and every one of you. I'm excited for this month. I really, really am. And I hope that you're feeling that, we've come to this, like we've completed a little bit of this phase and we're like leveling up a little bit. We're moving forward. And I want to just give each and every one of you a great big congratulations. Like, I want to celebrate each and every one of you, and I want to encourage you to celebrate as well for yourself. Look at what you've done. Look at where you've gotten and how far you've come, and take the time to just allow your inner child to reflect on that and treat yourself in whatever way you need to, because if we keep moving through this like it's a drudgery and like it's suffering, it's not going to be fun. So we really have to incorporate all of those things and all of those little rewards and things that make it fun for our inner child as we move through these incredible shifts. All right, my friends, again, I'm sending you so much love and reminding you that I am you and you are me and we are we. Until next time.